talk about what you're seeing, experiencing?
I'm here.
You're here?
I'm here.
Okay. And
You asked for me. I'm here.
you're Seth? Okay. Seth, thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
The first question I wanted to ask you was, are you the Seth associated with Jane Roberts?
Indeed, I am.
And so you're obviously speaking through Kath's voice. Do you understand Kath as Catherine, or do you have another name for her?
She's Cass.
Cass?
Cass.
Okay, C-A-S-S?
K.
K-A-S-S. Okay. And, do you want to talk about a little bit about what it takes for you to communicate through us in this way? How do you make these connections?
I just talk to her. She's very open. I can just talk to her. So I do.
And are there any particular reasons that you've chosen to speak through Cass at this time?
She's just very open, and I like that, so I picked her. She came to me and asked me some questions, and now I'm here, and I want to help her. She doesn't know me, so it was a great way to get in here and talk to her.
Okay. Well, we've had a discussion earlier and talking about some questions that we wanted to ask you. One specific one is related to a discussion you had with Cass about, he asked you, why is it that so many women in Marin County are getting breast cancer? And you gave her a rather detailed explanation. Could you recap that explanation for us?
Most certainly. What would you like to know?
Well, what's the specific cause of this high incidence of breast cancer here in Marin?
Well, it goes back quite a ways. You started with the environment, and the environment became polluted to such a degree that when the pollution seeped into the soils, excuse me here, when the pollution seeped into the soils, it caused great changes within the atmosphere inside the earth. And these atmospheres were altered in such a way as uh, to well, how do I put this to you, to manipulate the spores, the gases that come through in all of the soils have a very how do I put this to you now? They play a very important role in nature itself. And when you've done what you've done, you've set off a chain reaction here, starting inside the earth and moving on outward. And now it's outward in the spores. The spores are affecting humans. It's been going on for a long time. This just didn't happen overnight. I want you to know that man has been manipulating this environment for so long, and now the price is being paid.
Are there any specific pollutants that cause this, or is it just a general?
Well, you have a great deal of PCBs running into your soils as we speak. But PCBs are not the only thing. There are a variety of chemicals and pesticides that have been sprayed upon the land and have leached into the water. Upon leaching into the water, they then go into the ground, and when they settle in the ground, they change. I don't know how to explain this to you without getting into a scientific detail of this, but the changes are are they're fast and they're furious and they're not natural. And you've got to prevent this. But the way that you're going to try to prevent it isn't going to work. And this was what I've told Cass before.
Hmm.
It's not going to work.
What ways are we going to try to prevent this? Or
Well, you start out more chemicals, and more chemicals isn't going to work. You can't kill spores with more chemicals. It just will make the problem worse.
are these spores resistant to the chemicals, or
I told
what's going to
Cass the
happen?
spores have to be burned.
Hmm.
They have to be burned.
And so, where where are these spores? Are they in?
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Hmm.
And so, do do people absorb them in their breath, or
No, they trample them.
they trample them? And how do the spores
They
get into?
get them on their feet.
Okay. And so, how do the spores get inside humans?
They ingest them when they breathe.
Hmm. Okay. And Cass mentioned to me earlier that there's a reason that men aren't affected by these spores.
Men don't have soft breast tissue, and with soft breast tissue, these spores are allowed to lodge.
Okay. Um, well, one question I wanted to ask in relation to that is, what does a woman in maroon do to protect herself?
There's nothing that a woman can do. The damage has been done.
Okay, so there's no sort of cleansing, was it
Bleach the bottom of your shoes.
bleach the bottom of your shoes? Okay. Can you tell us a bit about this process of uh, the people of Marin trying to combat this problem? What's going to happen
The
in
politics,
the politics and the interventions that they're going to use to try to combat this?
they have to burn the spores.
Hmm.
They don't want to burn the spores, but they have to burn the spores. If they don't burn the spores will not recede.
So does that entail burning the land at the?
Yes, it does. It requires vast amounts of burning the land with controlled burns that do not destroy much of the vegetation but do burn the spores. When you get into the woods, of course, you have ferns and various flora and fauna that will be hard to burn around, but you must burn all the dead and dried debris and the soil. Open space can be burned quite easily.
Okay. Do you want to talk a bit about the politics of this?
I don't generally like to get into politics myself. I feel that politics is somewhat of a waste of time. However, the higher ups and the people who will be making these decisions, environmentalists and politicians, will do great battle together over